Everyone, I'm Dr. Kalpana. In this lecture, we are going to learn the origin and purpose of labor law, which is very significant piece of legislation when it comes to the workforce, which is almost 80% of the total Indian population. So, labor law emerged as a response to the exploitation of workers during Industrial Revolution, which happened in England. It aimed to protect the weaker section of society by setting limits on employers' power and enforcing standards of fairness, safety, and equity. Now, coming to its historical roots that responded to industrial exploitation. So, industrial revolution happened during 7060 to 8040. The rapid industrialization of this era led to severe worker exploitation, including long hours, unsafe conditions, widespread child labor. Labor law emerged as direct response to these abuses, aiming to curb unchecked employer power and established fundamental protections for workforce. This period laid the groundwork for legislative interventions globally. The stark realities of industrial revolution spurred early reformers and nascent worker movements to advocate for better conditions. This foundational period saw the very first attempt at legislative regulation, albeit often limited in response to growing public awareness for industrial injustice. I do not know how many of you have heard about Karl Marx. Karl Marx changed this world totally. He was a socialist, Marxist, author of Das Kapital. And because of his writings and uh, making them understand about their importance in the factories. Factories cannot run without labor. Industries cannot run without labor. So, making them understand about their significance being the part of mode of production. So, Karl Marx is credited to launch the labor movement in Europe. So, global standards and international labor organization. So, formation of ILO came in 1919, established after World War I. The International Labour Organization marked a vital movement in global labor governance. Its primary objective was to promote social justice and internationally recognized human and labor rights, recognizing that universal peace could only be achieved if it was based on social justice. The core principles ILO's mandates, including setting international labor standards in form of conventions, recommendations promoting employment opportunities, improving working conditions, and fostering social protection and social dialogue among governments, employers, and workers. Impact and influence through its tripartite structure, ILO has significantly influenced national labor laws worldwide. Its work in setting global benchmarks for decent work has been instrumental in advocating for fundamental principles such as freedom of association, right to collective bargaining, and elimination of forced and child labor. Labor law in India, a journey towards justice. So look at the pre-independence movement. Early 20th century India witnessed the genesis of organized labor movements. Colonial legislation like Factories Act 1881 represented rudimentary attempts to regulate working hours and conditions, reflecting British industrial concerns more than commitment to Indian working welfare. What happens to Royal Commission on Labor came in 1931. That was the time when a lot of movements were going on in our country and we were going through the freedom struggle against the British government. This commission conducted an extensive study into conditions of industrial labor in India. Its recommendations were comprehensive, advocating for the significant reforms in areas such as wages, working conditions, and recognition of trade unions, laying a crucial foundation for future legal frameworks. Post-independent era, following independence, the framers of Indian Constitution enshrined principle of social justice and worker welfare in directive principles of state policy. These principles became guiding light for the development of robust and expansive body of uh, labor laws designed to protect workers and promote industrial harmony. Core objectives of modern labor law, that is, one is worker protection, safeguarding employees from exploitation, discrimination, and unfair labor practices by establishing minimum standards for wages, hours, and working condition. There is a Minimum Wages Act, which we'll be dealing in further lectures. Safe working environments, mandating employers to provide healthy, safe workplace, minimizing occupational hazards, ensuring compliance with health and safety regulations. Fair compensation and conditions, ensuring workers receive fair wages, benefits, and reasonable terms of employment, including provisions of leave, holidays, social security. Collective bargaining and dispute resolution, promoting the right of worker to form unions, engage in collective bargaining, while also establishing mechanisms for resolving industrial disputes amicably. Social justice and economic equality, striving to reduce economic disparities and promote social justice by fostering equitable opportunities and protecting vulnerable segments of workforce. Fundamental doctrines shaping labor law. Social justice doctrine is one of them, which has been incorporated by Indian Constitution. This doctrine underpins labor law's objective to correct inherent power imbalances between employer and employee. It seeks to ensure fairness, equity, recognizing that without legal intervention, workers are often at disadvantage in negotiating the terms of employment contract. Welfare state philosophy rooted in the idea that government has duty to ensure a well-being of its citizens. This philosophy mandates the state actively intervenes to establish and enforce minimum labor standards, providing a safety net, basic rights for workers. Tripartism, a cornerstone of effective labor relations. Tripartism emphasizes the collaborative involvement of three key stakeholders: state, employer, and employees. Represented by unions, collaboration is essential for creating harmonious labor relations and stable industrial peace. Landmark case is there, Bandhua Mukti Morcha, which is a very famous case versus Union of India. This landmark public interest litigation was brought by an organization which is called Bandhua Mukti Morcha. Its name is itself revealing its name. Bandhua means bonded labor, Mukti means freedom, Morcha means a front. So Bandhua Mukti Morcha signify its name, and they did match or align with the objective of their name. So this landmark public interest litigation was brought by an organization named Bandhua Mukti Morcha, highlighting the plight of bonded laborers in stone quarries in Faridabad, Haryana. It exposed the inhuman conditions and forced labor prevalent in the region, bringing the critical human rights issue to forefront of judicial attention. Violation of Article 23 of Indian Constitution, which has abolished bonded labor. So Supreme Court of India unequivocally held that bonded labor constitutes a clear violation of Article 23 of Indian Constitution, which prohibits forced labor and human trafficking. This interpretation significantly broadened the scope of fundamental rights, emphasizing their applicability even against private individuals and entities. Judicial activism. The case marked a significant stance of judicial activism in Indian labor jurisprudence. The court issued extensive directions for identification, release and rehabilitation of bonded laborers, demonstrating its proactive role in enforcing fundamental rights and ensuring social justice. This decision sets a powerful precedent for future human rights litigation. Key takeaways from today's lecture are the journey of labor law from its origin in industrial revolution to its modern day complexities underscores a continuous effort to balance industrial progress with human dignity. The core objective of protection, fairness, justice remain paramount, guided by foundational doctrines and shaped by crucial judicial pronouncement. 1881, first Indian Labor Act. This year, Factories Act was enacted, marking early regulation. In 1919, International Labour Organization was established. The year International ILO was found. 1984, Bandhua Mukti Morcha, year that landmark Supreme Court judgment on bonded labor. As the global economy evolves, so too will challenge facing labor law. Issues like gig economy, automation, global supply chains demand innovative legal responses to ensure that fundamental principles of labor protection and social justice remain upheld in 21st century also. With this, I would end here. Happy learning.